So I think one of the most common sights in Pakistan is a donkey cart. Has anyone ever gone out on the road and not seen a donkey cart? At least in Karachi, it is one of the most common sights you're ever going to see. I remember seeing my first one when I was about 5 years old. And the donkey was probably as big as I was. And I'd always remember this because his head was down and he was looking defeated and so sad, and he was made to lug this cart that was filled high with bricks, and he was so tiny, and his owner just kept beating him and beating him. And I remember I was on my way to school and I just thought, I was like, he's trying the best he can. Why is the man still hitting him so much? I couldn't get him out of my head as much as I tried. So I asked my teachers, I asked my family, I'm like, what do donkeys eat? I want to give him something. I need to help him. No one knew anything. Although he was such a common animal, no one knew anything about him. And they all said, you know what, it's okay, because donkeys are used to this. And even when I was 5 years old, I thought nobody is ever used to suffering. That's just not normal. So I kept some sugar cubes in my bag because I thought, hey, horses like sugar cubes, so perhaps donkeys will like them too. So the next time I saw the donkey cart, I stopped the owner and I wanted to feed him. And it was at that very moment I saw the owner just bring his stick down. It was like in slow motion, and he hit that little baby so badly on his back that he closed his eyes like this and he winced. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I winced too, because I felt his pain in my bones. I felt it, I could hear it, I could see it, it was suffocating me. And I think that was probably my first real experience of what empathy actually is, where you put yourself in the skin of another and actually walk around in it. Something fundamental changed in me forever. And it's like the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche says, and once you are awake, you are awakened eternally. After that day, it was something that I realized that suffering is probably the most common thing that all living beings have in common. It doesn't matter whether you're human or you're animal, we all suffer. Everybody can suffer. And you know, the stuff we put on top, like chasing money and fame and power, those are all stories that humans have made. They're all layers we put on top of the scary reality of life, is that we can all suffer. And so we make excuses for it to try to make it justifiable. That donkey was being abused in the middle of the road in front of everybody. No one lifted their eyes. How would you feel if you were on the road? No one lifted their eyes once. If you were being beaten and you were screaming these silent screams, begging for someone to look at you, but no one sees you. No one acknowledges your existence. And it sort of pushed me. It pushed me to have this sort of, this passion built inside me, that I just have to do something. I need to change this. I have to help, because everybody, no matter who it is, should get something meaningful at the end of their life, to give them something good, because before their eyes close for good. And that's how death has always fascinated me. Not in a dark way, but in a very inspiring way, because death is the one absolute that all of us have in common. We all know that we're going to die, and that's actually a very liberating thought, because we can decide to live the best version of life that anybody can imagine. And that's what we have to do. So this is what kind of built this passion. And I think my passion was always for the underdog, to take care of those who nobody cares about, nobody looks at them. So I want to be the one to cheer them on, to really make them feel like they belong. So the thing is, you can understand your passion. This was my passion. It was this blood that was coursing through my veins. But you can have the passion, passion doesn't do anything unless there's purpose attached to it. Passion is here, purpose is here. You have to translate your passion into purpose, into goals, into something that people can understand, into something tangible. And doing that is difficult. When you start something new, when I started this animal rescue, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like a philosophy major, man. I was a journalist. I don't know anything about this. I just thought, I got to do something. I left England. I came back. I said, I got to do something. I can't leave things like this. This is not okay. So then I started this. And then, it's very difficult because everybody tells you, this is not going to work, this is horrible, stick to something normal, stick to something that everybody understands. And for me, I realized when you try to do something that's against the norm, that's something that's not, it's not normal in our culture, everybody is going to be against you. But then I thought that, you know what? No one's going to tell me how to live my life. It's my life. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, however I want to do it, and as well. And I'm going to master it the best way that I possibly can. And that reminds me of a quote by Martin Luther King, where he said, a man can't ride your back unless it's bent. So don't bend for anybody. Do what you have to do. Getting your purpose is difficult in life. It's not easy. But then you got to, events happen in your life. Things happen. And they actually keep making you realize you're on the right track. Which brings me to this dog. I apologize for the graphic image, but this is the reality of our country. And this is the reality of what happens every day. This was a mother dog who was kicked in the face so many times that her eyeballs popped out and her entire head burst open. And she was lying in the middle of the road with footsteps plodding all over her, and she could probably hear them. And there was screeching of sirens and blaring of horns, and these 5 puppies were just nuzzled against her because they didn't know what was going to happen to them. At that time, my organization was quite small. I had about 50 followers on our social media. That's only my friends and family who I forced to follow me. I also just had my own savings. I just started on my own. I had about 30 dogs I'd rescued and a volunteer vet. So when this image started making the rounds on social media, I got there first. I rescued her. I brought her back to my shelter at the time. I brought the puppies back. And she was so worried. She was so scared for her puppies that I thought in that moment, I was like, what if this was me? What if this was my mother or my sister or my daughter or my best friend? What if this was someone of mine? Because every mother, no matter what the species, feels the same way about her babies. She stayed alive despite what you can see what happened to her. She stayed alive to make sure she protected her puppies. So I started making cooing noises and I was trying to tell him, like, look, I am there for them. I'll take care of them. I know you're in pain. Just let go. I am here. I will take care of them. Somehow animals sense your aura. And she sensed mine, I guess. Because then she got up once, she nuzzled her puppies, and she collapsed right next to me and died. And just like that, I became the sole protector of those puppies. This was probably the first time in Pakistan's history that not just was an animal rescued and given some dignity, but that there were actually before and after photographs and updates on how the animal was doing, which has become the trademark. Honesty and transparency is the only way my organization, the only way ACF actually stands today, because it's been terribly hard to make it stand. So what this made me understand is that this is an untrodden path. This is a path that nobody has ever been on before. So we became really big on social media in that way, because not just for transparency, but to take people on this untrodden path of animal welfare with me, where nobody has ever ventured before. And I thought, let's all do this together because we all got to grow together. However, nothing is possible unless you actually persevere. You have to persevere through the worst of it all, which means you don't let go no matter what happens. And I'll tell you something, you cannot let go when there's a gun to your head telling you to stop doing what you're doing, when people belittle you, when they bully you, when they tell you you're not good enough, when you're pacing back and forth thinking, I don't know how I'm going to make this work because I'm all alone and no one wants to help me in this, when you have zero money in your bank account and nobody wants to help, because of course the quintessential, why should we help animals when there are so many humans who are suffering? This is the standard question. I'm sure all of you are probably thinking at some point or the other as well. And that's where this comes in. Suffering doesn't give its victims a choice. So why should we? Why should we? By not helping one, it is not going to make you help another. So why should we? That's something when I understood, I thought, what are we doing? How are we living? Where's civility in this society? This is not a westernized concept. This is a civilized concept. And why haven't we thought about this for so many decades of our existence? Why does it have to be the first way for this to happen? So I've been in a position in my life where I realized this, where things kept happening that just kept proving this to me. So I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a humanistic psychotherapist, and I worked with acid burn survivors, women and men who've been through severe acid attacks. Acid takes a moment, but it can ruin your life in like a second. And there was one woman who I was working with as a therapist for about 2 years. She was in a severe depression. Her husband had poured 4 bottles of acid on her head. She had lost her eye, her ear, she had no hair. Her insides had melted like a candle burning, which is what she said it smelled like as well when she first went through it. She was alone. She was in for 7 years. She didn't leave the house except to clean houses where she was exploited because no one would pay her properly. And she'd go to bus stops or she'd go to public places and people would just look at her like this. And she was like, they just stare at me like I'm a monster. And they do just looking at her face. How would you feel if someone did that to you? And she was like, that's all I ever faced. So she covered up in all these cloaks. You know, she was like completely covered. And I just thought, you know what? She needs a job. Let me hire her for the shelter and let me see how it works out. She didn't like animals at all. So I was like, look, just give it a shot. You don't have to work with the animals. Do the cleaning, arrange the office, do all of that. Don't worry about the animals. But in 3 months, this happened. She took the cloaks off. She took away all the layers. She was wearing a yellow polo shirt. She wore a blue cap. And when I asked her, I was like, what is this transformation? How did this happen? She was like, do you know why, Ayesha? Because animals don't see what you look like on the outside. Animals only see what you're like on the inside. Animals don't judge. They don't care about where you come from, how much money you have, how much influence, how much power. They don't care. They provided to her the purest reflection of herself back that she had forgotten because of her trauma. And animals, more than any human, actually helped her heal from one of the most traumatic human experiences that can ever exist. So that's one story that was amazing, which then brings me to her. A little kitten who is also a victim of an acid attack. She was sleeping, minding her own business, not bothering anybody, when 4 boys came and threw acid on her. Why? Does anyone know why? Is there any reason for this? This little kitten No one heard her. No one heard her cries for help. No one cared because she didn't speak our language. Because she didn't speak our language, we thought it doesn't matter. We can ignore it because out of sight, out of mind, right? No one cares. But you know what? If she could speak our language, the hundreds of women and girls I've counseled, the acid burn survivors I've counseled, I'm pretty sure her experience would be exactly like this. Her feeble cries for help was her way of trying to tell us she needed help, but we just didn't bother to understand her language. The kind of work I do is soul shattering. It tires me to the bone in a way that I can't explain because I am putting out fires everywhere. There's so much cruelty to animals in our country, I cannot begin to tell you, at the hands of humans. And I gotta keep sorting this out, save this one, and it's really tough. It is so tough, not in a complaining way, but in a way that it is hard. It gets tiring. It gets so tiring. I can't tell you. But then you see these transformations. You see this animal who once had no hope in life, and you see them transform into this being who really wants to live and who enjoys life. And that sort of gives you this clarity that, you know what, some of the darkness is okay when there's so much light. And you persevere and you persevere and you persevere because perseverance is the only weapon we have in a world that is filled with uncertainty. That's all we have, and we gotta hold on with all of our might, no matter what happens. Everything I just said with the gun and we had to move like 250 animals in the middle of the night in monsoon season in Karachi because we'd got a threat. You know, why are you here? Why are you taking care of animals? How dare you do this? This is not right. I just didn't listen. I was like, I'm going to filter out those voices because everybody is going to tell you at some point when you have a passion, when you have a purpose, and when you persevere, people are going to bring you down. People are going to tell you, why are you doing this? They're going to make you question everything. You just don't listen at all. So there's a reason again, a lot of events happen that make you understand this. Just a few months ago in Karachi at my shelter there, we faced a really bad flood. My entire shelter was flooded. There was water waist high, and myself, about just 4 of my team members, and all the 500 plus animals who live with us, some paralyzed, some deaf, some specially able, some blind, they were all submerged in water for 21 hours. I can't, if I can give you my description of hell, that was my hell. To hear those helpless, screaming voices of all those animals begging for safety. And I was standing there, knee deep in water, thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to make this okay? What am I going to do? And it took everything. And somehow all of us, my team and I, and it was like 3 of us girls and 2 men. That's it. We lifted these iron cages. We picked up these heavy platforms and cement blocks. We lifted donkeys. We put them on top. We made platforms to actually save everybody so that the water level, because it kept raining. So the water level kept rising. But we kept doing all of this so we could make sure that they would be okay. So for 21 hours, plus it was the day before Eid. So everything was closed. Nobody could help us. All the roads were flooded. You know Karachi roads, we have no drainage. So it was like, okay, what are we going to do? So I ran out into one of our vans and I made a live video where I just put out this plea. I was like, listen, we need help. And I was saying that we had lost a kitten and a cat because they had drowned. And as I was saying it, I think I broke down and I started crying on live video, and I was mortified that I started crying because I don't do that. I'm very professional and all of that. And I was like, oh God, okay. I was like, I don't have time for that. I just left it and I went back inside to help and see what was going on. I come back 2 hours later and my phone has blown up. Everybody you can possibly think of, from ministers to political parties to the army to the rangers, everybody called and said, we're coming to help you. So So those street animals, those dogs, those cats, those donkeys which you see on the road, you say they have rabies, they're dirty, they're that. Everybody who once ignored them, from the 50 followers, over time we'd got over 60,000 die-hard supporters. Everybody came together and said, we're going to help you get through this. And everybody came together to help rescue the animals that were once ignored. And I think that is the biggest testament to passion, purpose, and perseverance. And I think that's something that stays with me. So I don't know what the future holds. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I don't even know why I'm here, because who knows what's going to happen the next year or in the next 2 years, even in the next minute. What animals teach you is to live moment to moment, because they live moment to moment. And the way they've taught me is that, you know what, just live in the now. And that's something that's the hardest thing for us to do. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what is going to happen with me. I just know that if I have passion, purpose, and perseverance, I can live a fulfilling life. And all of us can live a fulfilling life if we find our passion, understand its purpose, and we persevere like we've never done so before. And then watch yourselves and the world around you transform. Thank you.